I'm going to go through a question on permit to work systems. So this question is a 10-point question, how a permit to work system works in practice. This question is a little bit unusual, and I'll explain why I think that in a second, but let's have a look at it. It says some of the essential features that need to be in place for a permit to work system to work in practice were agreed at the meeting, at the emergency meeting. Suggest 10 additional essential features. So the thing that's a little bit different about this question is that, unlike many of the other questions in a NEBOSH open book exam, it is not guiding you or suggesting that you use information from the scenario to support your answer. In a way, I think this type of question is a little bit easier to deal with, but you won't get many like this in a typical exam. Let's get into it. I want to point out a couple of things about this question though that you need to be careful about. What you'll notice is the word system is put in italics. If you were issuing an individual permit to work for a task, that's one thing. Implementing an entire permit to work system within an organisation is another thing. This question is asking about the latter. It's asking about essential features for an entire permit to work system. A couple of other things is that it's asking about the essential features. So these are things that absolutely must be in place. So if you didn't have these features in place, the permit to work system at some point is going to fail. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is the fact that, some of the essential features have already been agreed. Suggest 10 additional features. What you can infer from this is that there are already some things that you won't get marks for, even if you are correct in terms of it being an essential feature. If they are one of these essential features that have already been agreed in the emergency meeting, it's very unlikely that you're going to get a mark for suggesting it as an additional feature because it's already been agreed at the meeting, if that makes sense. So even though this is one of those questions that don't ask you to use information from the scenario in your answer, you're still going to have to look at the scenario to find out what these essential features are that have already been agreed at the meeting so that you can avoid duplicating them in your actual answer. So let's go and have a look at what these essential features are. So I'll put a link to the scenario in the description. Right down at the bottom of it is where they discuss the emergency meeting. So to save you having to read all of it, one of the main recommendations was to consider using a permit to work system for all milling machine cleaning activities. The experienced workers and managers hold an emergency meeting about what needs to be in place for this proposed permit to work system to work in practice. They initially agree on 6 essential features. The need for a permit to work system for this task. Second one, a documented procedure, a multi-copy permit documentation system, clear specification of controls, a system of continuous control, and the last one, a formal handback procedure to restore normal milling machine operation. So these are the 6 essential features that have already been agreed. Our task is to suggest 10 additional essential features. What I've got here is a search results page that you get if you put into the Google search bar of PTW HSE. I'll put a link to a video that explains how to find information that you need quickly and easily. Of course, if you're registered with a learning partner, a learning provider, you can use a textbook or whatever resources and materials have been supplied by your learning provider. But to make this video applicable to everybody who sees it, I'll just use Google. Let's go to the first result. Talks about why our permit to work system is important. It's not really relevant to us. What we've got here towards the bottom of the page is a nice long bullet point list. So we've got to have at least 10 additional essential features. Looks like we're going to find a lot of those here. What I'm going to do for the purposes of making this video fairly, well, as short as I can, is to just pick out a couple of them, and then maybe you can suggest in the comments some others that could have been included in an answer. So straight away I'm seeing here, train all users in the permit to work system and provide information to other persons affected by it. Okay, I've got training in there. I'm not going to leave it like that, but you know, I'll just pick out a couple of other things from this list, and then flesh out after I've selected a couple. The permit to work system should have a process for handover of plant on completion of work. Let's grab that. Put that in there. So I'll just focus on these three. Obviously, I'd want at least 10, but I'd try and get 11 or 12. I might have been able to get them all from there, to be honest with you, but there's usually plenty of other resources that you can look at. If you can't get what you need from that bullet point list, well, go and have a look at other resources. Guidance on permit to work systems. These are all free on the HSE website, but you'll remember if you've watched a previous video on finding information that this document is an HSG document, and they can be quite dense. This one's not too bad, 40 pages, but what I'd still do is pull up a control and find and put in a keyword to help me find what I'm looking for. So the keyword features, essential features of permit to work systems are, and there you go, there's another bullet point list. You see what I'm saying? You know, you can find the information that you need. But anyway, let's go back to the three that I've picked on. Training, is it an essential feature? Of course it is for a permit to work system. Handover, is that essential? Yes, that is an essential feature. And for it not to be overly complex, for a permit to work system to work in practice, yes, that is an essential feature. Am I going to get points for just putting that type of thing in my answer? Training, handover, not overly complex? No, I'm not going to get points. Why? Because, you know, how am I demonstrating my knowledge here? You know, it's too brief. It's not fleshed out enough. So what I would put, training, okay, I just flesh it out a little bit by putting something like, just something to flesh out a little bit, something that makes sure that I'm going to get that point, because I want the examiner to know that I know why I've selected training as an essential feature. Handover, let's put something else in here. Not overly complex, another word for that is simple. Something like that. These aren't ideal answers. I might polish that up a little bit, get my language a little bit more clear and concise. But I feel fairly confident in saying that, you know, those 3 points there would score during exam marking. So there you go. At least another 7 are required to get the maximum points available for this question. Can you think of any more? If you can, put them down in the comments. And if you've got your exam coming up soon, as always, very best of luck with it. I hope you've got some value out of the video that you've just seen. If so, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the channel so that you can be alerted to when we produce and upload more videos.